Okay, so for this video we are going to talk about 17 of the most common self-defense myths that you'll find in the self-defense martial arts communities. The first one, training in martial arts will make me safe. I will be able to handle anything that life throws at me, any self-defense situation, I can deal with it. The sad reality is that most of the self-defense training will vary from one school to the next, and a lot of it is trained either without resistance or with minimal resistance. The one exception being sparring. But, obviously in actual self-defense situations, you're not going to say, hey, hold on, let me go and put on a pair of gloves real quick. So, training in martial arts isn't necessarily going to make you safe, but will give you certain skills. You will learn to kick, you will learn to punch, you will learn to move, and that's great, but you can't necessarily rely on martial arts on its own. The next one is size doesn't matter. And the idea behind this one is it's a nice idea, but it's not true. The truth of the matter is that a larger, heavier opponent is going to have a very, very easy time dealing with someone who is frankly smaller and weaker than they are. If you've got longer arms, you can reach further. If you've got longer legs, well, you can kick further. You've got more reach. So yeah, size does matter. The next one, let's see here, the black belt equals badass mentality. No, being a black belt does not mean that you can handle anything. It doesn't mean that you can fight your way out of trouble. It doesn't mean that that you should be fighting. So no, being a black belt does not necessarily make you a badass. The next one is kind of silly. The special rules for martial artists in self-defense situations. I don't know who came up with this idea, but it is a very irritating myth. The basic idea is that if you have trained in any martial art and you have any high level, you're a high level, a color belt, a red or a brown belt, or a black belt in a martial art, then there are special rules that apply to you when it comes to self-defense situations. The first one is that you have to register your body as a deadly weapon because you train in martial arts. For obvious reasons, no. If we all had to register our bodies as deadly weapons, first off, no one does it. It isn't done, so I guess we're all in trouble. We're all walking around with unregistered weapons, right? The next one is that if you've trained in martial arts, you have to warn your opponent. So you're in a bar, and some guy gets in your face. He wants to fight, and you have to now say, okay, fine, we can fight, but I have to warn you, I'm a black belt in this style, whatever it might be. Taekwondo, karate, judo, whatever it might be. Unfortunately, that's actually more likely to cause trouble than it is to solve it. The idea of fighting a black belt isn't something that would appeal to most guys, but there are times where the guy that's been picking a fight with you, he might see that as a challenge. Like, oh, you're a black belt. If I beat you up, then I'm gonna get street cred for that. I'm gonna be very popular because I'm able to beat this person. So warning your opponent is kind of a problem. Okay, let's see here, what have we got? We've got some weapons laws. Okay, so first one, it is always legal to carry a weapon for self-defense purposes. No. A good example to use to explain this one is knives. Most people look at knives and they see knives as tools. But the second you change the purpose, so if you're working in, I don't know, a grocery store and you're working in receiving, that's where all the new stock comes in. So you're going to be opening boxes and cases of things pretty often. So carrying a knife makes sense. Someone stops you, you go, oh, you're carrying a knife. Why are you carrying a knife? Well, I work in receiving and process a lot of boxes. That's acceptable because you're using it as a tool. The second you say, I'm carrying it for self-defense, the context changes. So it's still a tool, but the context of it has changed. And the way the system is going to see it is, you're carrying it so that you can hurt people, essentially. So, no, carrying a weapon for self-defense is not legal in most places. There are exceptions, but it's kind of few and far between. The next one. Use of a weapon is always legal. Nope. Another myth. Using weapons in self-defense is legal in certain circumstances, but the circumstances are highly situational. So it depends on where you are. So what state are you living in? What was the circumstances of the incident? So how did it happen? Where did it happen? When did it happen? So there's all kinds of legal criteria that you have to meet before a situation or an incident can be classified as self-defense, before it can fall into that bracket. If you meet that legal standard, then you're fine. If you don't meet that standard, well, you're in trouble. So no, using a weapon is not always legal. Let's see. The next one is kind of a silly one as well. Carrying a weapon is always legal if you have trained with that weapon. Again, like I said, this is kind of a silly one because there are laws about what you can or can't carry. And again, I can talk about knives as an example. Each state and country has different knife laws. And in some places you can carry daggers and balisongs and blades of all lengths without a problem, within reason. But in most places you have a specific blade length, and it has to be single-edged, and you can't do anything stupid with it. That's the basic gist of most knife laws. But here's the thing. How do you define training? If you train in Kendo, which is Japanese swordsmanship, Kendo or Iedo, which are two styles of Japanese swordsmanship, well then I suppose that means you can carry a sword legally. That's kind of what this myth is saying, is, oh, if you've trained with it, then it's legal for you to carry it. It doesn't work that way. There are laws about it, like I just said. In some cases you need a license, you need permits, there's all kinds of red tape that you have to go through first. So no. And like I said, how do you define training? I carry a knife pretty regularly, but I've never trained to use it in self-defense. I just carry it because I've always carried a knife. So it's something that I've always done. The next one, having a weapon is enough. So you don't have to know how to use it. You don't have to use it. You don't have to know how to use it. Just having it there is enough. This one is, I suppose, partially true, because anyone sees a weapon, you see a weapon and your instant reaction is kind of, okay, whoa, what's going on here? You know what, I don't actually want any part of this. But if you don't know how to use it, then you're not going to use it. And if you're not going to use it, then why do you have it? And knowing how to use it is only part of the equation. You also have to be willing to use it. If you're not willing to use it, and you're not able to use it, then having it there as an implement for self-defense is useless. Okay, so the next one here, let's see, the next one is follows the laws. The first one is knowing the self-defense laws and knowing the weapons carry laws and things like that. Knowing those things is useless. Okay, let me ask you a question now. Why is it useless? How is it useless? If you know the laws, then you know what you can carry, you know what you can't carry, and you're less likely to get yourself into trouble. So, know your laws, right? The next one kind of ties into the last one. So we just talked about how knowing the laws is pointless. This next one is kind of related to that, in that people kind of have this idea that the law is always on your side if it's a self-defense situation. No, actually not so much. Like I said before, there is a legal standard that will vary from one country or state to the next. If you don't meet that standard, it's very serious legal trouble for you. Okay. The next one is waiting to act. So this is the idea that you are not allowed to strike first in self-defense. No. There are instances where striking first is acceptable. But you have to pretty much exhaust every other option available before you do that. So no, you don't have to wait to strike first. But what you do has to be reasonable, and I'll get to that in a second, yeah? But no, you don't have to wait. The next one is dragging your attacker indoors after the beating. So somebody comes onto your property, you don't want them there, you beat them up, and then you drag them inside before you call the police. Don't do this. Please don't do this. This is tampering. Right? You are tampering with evidence. You are messing around with something that you're not supposed to mess around with. Don't do it. Because as soon as you've dragged them inside, well, first off, you're taking trace evidence and damaging it. And it's going to become pretty obvious pretty quickly that this actually happened outside and you dragged him inside, which means that it's not self-defense anymore. Now it's assault, which is a whole different ballgame. Okay, reasoning with your attacker. That's the next one. The idea is you can talk your way out of trouble. And again, this one is kind of true. There is a grain of truth to this one, because there are instances where you can just say, hey, okay, look, I don't want any trouble. Let's just shake hands and go our separate ways. Nobody gets hurt. Everybody walks away happy. The problem is that if you make that assumption, that can be a very dangerous assumption to make, because not everybody is going to respond the same way. So again, there's a grain of truth to it, in that you can talk your way out of trouble most of the time, but there are times where you're not going to be able to, so don't make the assumption that you will always be able to talk your way out of trouble. Pain versus damage. Okay. So this is similar to the last myth about reasoning with your attacker. The idea is, oh, I only have to hurt him to drive him off. I don't have to damage him. And there's a big difference between pain and damage. Pain is, ouch, that hurts. It's unpleasant, but it's not going to disable you in some way. Damage is where you have, you've hyperextended a joint, you've dislocated a shoulder, you've broken bones, essentially. That's damage. Sometimes causing pain is all that's needed, but there are times where causing pain is just not going to be enough. It's called a pain threshold for a reason. Some guys have a very high tolerance for pain, others don't. So, you smack one guy in the face and he goes, whoa, okay, that wasn't expected, I don't want that to happen again, and he goes away. The next time you do that, you're probably just going to you might just make it worse. So, no. Pain and damage, it's very, very situational. But pain compliance doesn't always work. Damage tends to work better, unfortunately. Okay, and the last three, I'll just do X. Oh, if somebody does this to me, somebody grabs me, I'm just gonna bite him, scratch him, poke him in the eyes, that sort of thing. No. Most people are not conditioned for those types of situations. And training in martial arts, as I said at the start of the video, doesn't mean that you'll be able to handle that situation. It's more likely that you're going to freeze. You're going to go, oh, okay, what's happening? Why is this happening? What can I do? So I'll just do, whatever it is, probably not a good idea. Sometimes it might work, but it's also very likely to just make the other person very angry and result in more trouble for you. Almost done here. We have special training. That's the second last one on the list here. Special training. Okay, so if you train with me for the next 10 years, I'll teach you things that you'll never learn in other styles. You'll learn how to knock people down without touching them, and how to cause paralysis with a single touch. And there's like super secret techniques that no one else teaches, and it doesn't work like that. You can go to any martial arts school. You can go to karate, and you can go to Taekwondo, and you'll learn both kicking and punching in both styles. If you want to work on striking, you can go and do boxing, and you can learn to punch. If you want to learn to use your elbows and knees, there's Muay Thai and kickboxing. You can go and train in Pencak Silat. So there's all kinds of styles, and a lot of them have very similar techniques. So the idea that you're going to learn super secret stuff that no one else knows is ludicrous. The last one. So we're in the home stretch. This is the last one. Don't make eye contact with your attacker. Actually, it's kind of the exact opposite. Most bad guys are predators. We think of bad guys, if you think of a bad guy as a wild animal, depending on the animal, you're going to react differently. If you meet bears, for example, there's the whole phrase of, if it's black, fight back, if it's brown, lie down, and if it's white, good night. Right? If it's a black bear, it's not very big, but it's big enough to do damage, but they're generally kind of timid, so that they don't like to pick fights with people. So if you make yourself big and scary, you can scare them off. If it's a big brown a grizzly bear, then you lie down and you play dead and you wait for the bear to go away. And if it's a white bear, a polar bear, well, good night, because you're lunch. It depends. So, you want to make eye contact with your attackers, or with potential attackers. The idea is that you make yourself confident. You make it look like you know what you're doing. The idea is that they look at you, they go, you know what? No, this guy he's not an easy target. We're going to go find an easier meal elsewhere. They don't want a long, drawn-out confrontation. They want to get you and get gone, and that's it. So they're not likely to target you if you make eye contact and you're looking around, you've got your head, you're moving around, you're looking there, looking over my shoulder. If your eyes are constantly moving, that tells them, oh, this guy's alert, he knows what he's doing, we're not going to be able to sneak up on him very easily. Ergo, he's a difficult target. Let's go find someone else. And that's it. That wraps it up. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys for the next one. Take care.